Grade 12 Mindsetters, hello and welcome to it. This is Learn Extra Live Business Studies with me, AB, Abraham, and of course, the brave Dave. How are you?
Good, and you, man?
I'm awesome. It's good to do this show with you.
Yeah, first time, so I'm looking forward to an exciting show with us.
Same here. What are we doing today?
Today we're going to be having a prelim review, seeing the prelims coming up next week, Tuesday. So we're just going to go through some questions, what they're going to be asking us, how they would like you to answer them. And just helping our mindsetters feel a little bit more confident going into the exam.
I like that. That's the spirit. Well, to equip you mindsetters, we have the notes that are proudly sponsored by Macmillan on learnextra.co.za/live. I'll also post that fast link on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/learnextra. Like the page, you should be knowing about the page now. And if you have liked the page, share it with other friends of yours, your schoolmates, whether it's your high school mates, anyone that you can share the page with, so that we can learn more on the page also, because we post some stuff, some exam tips also on the page. Lastly, follow us on Twitter @LearnExtra. But for now, let's not waste any time and let's learn.
Right, guys. Now, one very important aspect for business studies is that you must go through past papers and questions that helps build a nice frame going into your exam. Now, if you're going to go into your business studies exam having not prepared very well, unfortunately, business studies is one of those subjects where you'll get shown up very quickly. So we're going to go through some past questions. We're going to make sure that you understand what the question is asking you, because a lot of people give the correct answer, but for the wrong question. So you've got to make sure that you understand your question. So we're going to be going through a couple of short questions that have been asked in previous prelims. So right, if we're first going to start up here. Sorry there, guys. Right, so the first one is read the extract below and answer the questions that follow. Right, so this is all about entrepreneurs. So, are you entrepreneurial material? So entrepreneurs are optimistic and goal-setting people, right? And they have a strong focus on results. Right, they're able to rely on themselves. Right, so if you're able to rely on yourself, what does that say about the type of person that you are? AB, what would you say if you had to rely on yourself? What type of person are you?
Independent.
Right, independent, right. So they're going to be asking you a lot of things that you're going to have to apply. Right. So you're independent, right. And they have a great deal of confidence, right, determination, and dedication. Right, so if you look at Richard Branson, he's an entrepreneur of note. He's started hundreds of businesses all over the world, right? He's very successful. He's determined. He's confident. He's not a person that goes into his shell there, right? So they're able to interact effectively with people. That's very, very important, right? They are positive and they're pleasant and eager to meet people and satisfy them, right? Inquisitive, right? So they're always asking, what can we do better? They're intuitive and enjoy new challenges, right? And then they are ambitious and they have the ability to judge and act on incomplete information. Right, so let's see what the question is asking us here. So it says here, analyze any 3 qualities of a successful entrepreneur. So now if we look here, they haven't given us exactly what qualities make up an entrepreneur there. They've given that to us in an applied format. So we have to take what they have said to us and we have to apply it there. So AB's given us that one there, independent. Right, so if you look at one of the qualities for an entrepreneur, is a strive for independence. They want to be their own boss. They don't want to have someone telling them, you must be at work at this time. They want to make all of those decisions. So let's look at what they've given us here. So firstly of all, good organizational and management skills. So if we look back here, let's relate it to there. They're able to interact effectively with people, right? Optimistic and goal-setting people who have a strong focus on results, right? They are intuitive, inquisitive, right? The next one there is optimistic and goal-setting people do not lose sight of essential management functions, right? So you have goals. You've got to make sure that you keep with your goals. If you don't keep with your goals, you're going to let yourself down, right? We've got to have good communication skills. Right, so if we look back here at what they said, right? Positive and pleasant and eager to meet people, right? And able to interact effectively with people there, right? Interact means how we working with these people, okay? Then creativity and the ability to be innovative, right? Now you look at a lot of products that have been made over time. It's from creative thinking. Now I remember when I was a student and I'd go for a run, I had a Discman. A lot of you guys are most probably thinking I'm speaking Chinese now because you've never heard of that in your life, but I used to have to run with my Discman, right? So I'd be running and every step I'd take, the CD would skip, right? Someone came up with an idea to combine all the music that we have, turn it into MP3s and create MP3 players using creativity. Entrepreneurs look to exploit those gaps, right? So it says there, inquisitive and intuitive, enjoy new challenges and are full of new ideas, right? Interpersonal skills and the ability to work with people, that's very, very important. If you're an entrepreneur, you need to be able to work with people, all right? You cannot just operate a business by yourself. Entrepreneurs go out there and they develop relationships with people, all right? Okay, and then they are eager to meet people and to satisfy them. All right, so if you had a look at Richard Branson right now, if you had to meet him, he's not going to just bump you off on the side. He takes an interest in people. He's eager to meet people because he always looks at someone as a potential business partner going forward. And that's what entrepreneurs need to do. When you're an entrepreneur, you're not selling your business, but you're selling yourself because you and the business are the same thing. They are part of each other. Right. Now, this is quite a big one. The ability to take calculated risks to increase output and profits. Now, this goes back to what we said in the beginning here, right? They have the ability to judge and act on incomplete information, right? I might not have all the information around me that I need, but I can take a calculated risk and say, right, if I take that information there and apply it to this here, I might not be 100%, but I'm taking a calculated risk rather than just saying, oh, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, I'm going to choose that one. All right, so they take calculated risks. Right, they know what the benefit is, but they also know what the potential pitfalls are. Right there. That's a big one there, ability to judge on incomplete information. These two actually link up there, right? And positive and committed to the business. Right, you have to remain positive. If it was easy to be an entrepreneur, we'd all be one and we'd all be millionaires. However, it's very difficult and you're going to have very, very tough days. When you have those tough days, you need to remain positive. You need to remain upbeat or else you're going to fail because you're just going to give up. Right? It's through those times when you're pushing through that you'll make your breakthrough. Right, and then this is the biggest one here, self-confidence. Right, entrepreneurs believe in themselves. And that links to them to what I said earlier, where they have to sell themselves because they're selling their business. If you're not very confident, if I was presenting now in front of you all down and like spoke very softly, you wouldn't take me serious. You have to be confident because if people are like, he's confident, he must believe in his business, therefore I want a part of that there. All right. So if we go back to what the question said, it said any three qualities of a successful entrepreneur, and then use the examples from the extract to support your answer. It's very, very important that you read the questions carefully. If you don't read those questions carefully, you're going to lose a lot of very easy marks. So you give your point and then substantiate it from the extract that they have given you. All right, let's go on to the next question. Right, so the question is, discuss how businesses in South Africa can contribute to human rights, inclusivity, and environmental issues in the workplace. Right, so first and foremost, what is a human right? Human rights are basic rights that we are all entitled to, right, such as the right to safety, the right to education, right, even the right to a name, right. What is inclusivity? Inclusivity is all about bringing people in, not excluding anyone. So in the past, we might have excluded people because of their religion or their physical disabilities, or whether or not they are married. Inclusivity aims at bringing everyone in, right? And then the environmental issues is we have to make sure that we look after the environment. So the question here is discuss. That's important. Discuss. Not list, discuss. And you need to know the difference between those points there. So the first one, human rights. Okay. Businesses should respect the Bill of Rights as outlined in the Constitution as a legal instrument. Our Constitution is the highest law of the land. Right. So a business cannot say, right, we are taking away your right to freedom of religion because we don't like that in our business. They can't do that in their business. They have to respect the law of the land. And the law of the land says that our Constitution is the supreme law. Right, so an example is equal and fair treatment, fair remuneration, freedom of speech, and the right to practice one's religion. Right. Freedom of speech doesn't mean that you can go and tell your teacher exactly what you think of them. It has to be within a controlled environment, and you have to make sure that you aren't infringing on other people's rights there. Right, so if we look here, businesses that fund projects that promote the basic rights and freedoms to which all South Africans are entitled. Right, so example, Freedom Day celebrations. This also comes into corporate social responsibility, right? And then businesses must promote the basic human rights in respect of healthcare, right? Making sure that we look after people. Example, HIV/AIDS, welfare, and education. Those are all basic human rights. Okay. Now, one thing you must remember in business studies that if you can substantiate your answer, it doesn't necessarily mean it's from the textbook, but if you can justify it and say, right, this is why this and this should be in here, you'll get the marks for that. Right, so let's look at inclusivity quickly. Right, so inclusivity means that the businesses must aim to address the imbalances of the past. Right, so an example is include disabled people in your workforce and make sure that your business is suited to them. You can't just have stairs if you've got people that are working in wheelchairs. You need to make sure that you have ramps, that you can include them. Right, you need to make sure that, say now someone is blind, that you've got systems in place that they can still be included, that they can still do some work. Right, so some businesses have invested in specialized projects, example, providing funds for education, arts and culture, right? And no individual should be discriminated against, no matter what. Right, we cannot discriminate against someone because they are HIV positive. Right, they also have rights. We are going against their rights and we're excluding those people. Where businesses should aim for inclusivity in the workplace. Right, so accommodate different official languages. So if you look at your ATM machines, they'll say to you, right, what language would you like this in? So if you want Zulu, you can pick Zulu. If you want Afrikaans, you can pick Afrikaans. If you want English, you can pick English. Any of our official languages in South Africa. Right. You must make sure that you understand the various legislation that has been passed to promote human rights. Right. Then the next one. So let's look at environmental issues now. Right. Funds donated by businesses are used to preserve the environment. Okay, so if you look at the moment, a massive one is preserving the rhinos, making sure that we look after them. This again comes into corporate social responsibility. Okay, so if we look at an example, let's say Nedbank contributes funds for nature conservation. So if you think of the rhino, right? Businesses contribute funds for the prevention of pollution. That's a massive one, right? You might see some businesses say, please don't print this email unless you really have to, so that we don't have to cut down more trees for paper and that we can look after the environment and we don't pollute it anymore. Right, so if you look at example, SAPI, the big paper company, monitors pollution of water and its discharge into the rivers. Right, that once again links up to the human rights, because people have the right to clean water, right? Businesses contribute to waste management. Make sure that they don't waste that much. Okay. An example is establishing businesses that recycle cans and paper. Right. So as long as you can justify all of that, then you'll be able to get the marks.
Thank you so much, Dave. Mindsetters, I hope you're enjoying the lesson. If you are tuned in, make sure that you let us know on Facebook and ask some questions if you're struggling, because I'm also posting the questions that Dave is going over. Download them and make sure that you have them. But otherwise, we'll see you after the break. Welcome back, Mindsetters. Now, grade 12s, I have some great news that I need to share with you. From the 23rd to the 27th of September, we're having spring school specially for you to help you with that extra push before you get to your exams. We'll be having some great exam experts that will be there to assist you. So make sure that you watch our live shows, and the notes and all the information will be provided all for free just to help you. All information will be posted on our Facebook page. But for now, let's learn more, Dave.
Right, guys, we're on to our next question. Yeah, now they love asking questions like this. So, discrimination in the workplace. So let's go there. Discrimination in the workplace is one of the human rights issues that has a negative impact on the relationship between employers and employees. All right. So now the question is, do you agree or disagree with this statement? Motivate your answer. So now this is for 4 marks here. So what they're going to be looking for first is whether or not you agree or disagree, and then you have to motivate why you say that. So let's have a look at what they said here. So for agree, right, so you would have got your mark there for agree, and then your motivation is dissatisfaction can lead to low morale, right, if you're getting discriminated against, right? So do you agree that it's a negative impact? Yes. Why do you say so? So you have to make sure that you substantiate, motivate your answer. You cannot just say yes, no, agree, disagree. Make sure that you substantiate it there. Right? And if we look here, if you disagree, your motivation, workers prefer security and high remuneration in comparison to satisfaction or morale. Okay. Now question B is indicate how discrimination can be resolved in the workplace. So we need to say, right, how can we resolve discrimination in the workplace? Let's see what they have to say here. So first and of all, we've got to prepare a code of ethics for the company. Right, so if everyone knows what's expected of them, they're more than likely not going to discriminate against someone else, because there is that policy in place in the company that says, hey, you're not allowed to discriminate against someone because of their religion or because of their marital status. Right, so there's a recognition of the collective agreement between the management and labor. So we have to make sure that collectively they agree on what is expected. Okay. And then we must provide training. That's very, very important. Okay. We cannot say to people, right, here's our policy, go. You need to make sure that people are trained, they feel empowered, so that they're able to go out there and say, right, this is discrimination, this is how I'm going to deal with it. Right. And we must also have role plays and simulations of various acts of discrimination, so that the stakeholders, which are our employees, are aware of the basic human rights of workers. Right, so you might not know that you shouldn't discriminate against women or people of different religions. So at least this training helps you to say, right, this is the right thing to do, and you'll have those simulations and role plays so that people know what to do. Because you might not know what you're doing is discriminating against someone unless you're in a role play. Then you put yourself in that situation, and then you can feel what it's like to be in that situation and sort it out from there. Right. Now we must also remember to make mention of the Equity Act. Right. Now in the Employment Equity Act, it states that we cannot discriminate against people on the grounds of race, gender, religion, sexual orientation, HIV status, disabilities, right? We have to be inclusive. Can you see how that all comes in there? We have to include everyone. We cannot exclude anyone else, like South Africa had those policies in the past. Right, and once again, any other relevant answer for the resolution. If you can back it up, then I'll give you the marks for that. Right, so let's look at question 4 now. Indicate whether the following statements are true or false, and choose the correct answer and write only true or false next to the question number there. So, another name for the internal environment is the macro environment. Okay, now remember, macro means big. Right, so let's see what they actually say. So that is obviously false, right? Because the internal environment is the micro environment. Right, don't forget the difference between the two. In the micro environment, I can control everything in my business. I can control who I want to work for me, which hours I'm going to be open, right? Where the macro environments are all those factors that I can't control. I can't control what laws are going to be happening that the government's going to be bringing through. I cannot control the weather. I cannot control the highway system of Johannesburg. My business cannot control whether or not there's going to be tolls all over Johannesburg, right? But in the micro environment, I can control everything. Which employees I'm going to have, what our color scheme is going to be, what are our goals, our objectives, how are we going to spend our money. Right, the next question is, to issue shares is a method that companies use to raise capital. Right, and the answer there is true, 100%. Okay, so businesses go out there, they sell shares in their business so that they can raise capital, so that they can expand their business and become even bigger, right? The one downfall of that, remember, is that you give up ownership of your business. And remember, there are only a certain type of businesses that can sell shares, right? And those are our PTY Limited and then our limited companies, right? So these are the companies that are on the JSE. Right, according to the Black Economic Empowerment, BE policy, for 25% of an organization is owned and managed by black women, the organization is considered to be black women owned. Right, so let's see what they said there. Right, false. Okay, false. Right, BE is a lot broader. Right, there's a lot more that we have to concentrate on there. Okay, and as you know, 25% is only 1/4 of a business. Right, so it's not the full business. 1/4 doesn't mean that it's everything. Okay, so then D, the South African Qualifications Authority. Very important. As soon as you hear this term, you should be thinking of something. Is responsible for quality assurance of products in the manufacturing industry. Right, that is false. Right, the South African Qualifications Authority makes sure that the qualifications we achieve, so your matric, right, the degrees that hopefully you will all be earning in a couple of years' time after watching this program and doing so well in your matric exam. They worried about that, right? It's the South African Standards Bureau Authority that concentrates on the manufacturing industry, right? Remember, manufacturing industry is all about making stuff. Qualifications is about what we learn, right? And then the Labour Relations Act improves the employment opportunities of disadvantaged skilled workers, right? So let's look there. And that is false, right? It's not the Labour Relations Act that concentrates on improving the skills of the labour force. The Labour Relations Act is all about what rights does labour have, right? What right do trade unions have? So as I'm sure you guys would have seen, there's a lot of strikes going on in different industries. And there's a lot of laws that govern the way that people strike. We can't just rock up to work and say, right, I'm going on strike. There's a whole process that you have to follow before you're allowed to go on strike. Okay. All right, let's look at question 5 here. So choose the correct words from those given in the brackets and write only the words next to it there. So the first one is a private company consists of a maximum of either 20 or 50 shareholders, right? Remember, shareholders are our owners. Right, so let's have a look here. Okay, it is 50. Right, remember that's one of the advantages of owning a private limited company, is that we can get a lot more people to invest in our company compared to a closed corporation where you only have a maximum of 10 members. In a private limited company, we've got up to 50 shareholders. Right, so the partnership pays tax on its profits in the name of, right, which is it? Either the partners or the partnership. Right, let's have a look here. And it's the partners. Remember, right, that in terms of the eyes of the law, the partner is seen as the same as an individual. Right, we have unlimited liability. So if AB and myself are in a partnership, we have to pay our tax in our personal capacity, right? Even though our partnership might earn money, because we are in a partnership, we have an unlimited liability. The law does not see us as separate entities. We are seen as the same entity. All right, see. To improve the quality of performance of the financial function, a business enterprise must have an internal audit of either the macro or the micro environment. Right, let's have a look there. So obviously the micro. Okay, that's what we're saying there. If I want to improve my finance function, I must make sure that it's a micro audit. So I look within the micro environment. What can I do better? Maybe I'm going to spend less money on this. I'm actually going to spend my money elsewhere that's going to make me more money. We're going to stop buying coffee and tea and nice lunches for the whole staff and concentrate our money on investing in the business and growing the business. Right, this organization is responsible for developing standards and qualifications criteria for the National Qualifications Framework. Right, we just actually did this. Right, so which one do you guys think it is? Right, it's the South African Qualifications Authority. Right, then E, Articles of Association or the founding statement is a document which states the main business activity of a closed corporation, right? Which is it there? And is a founding statement, right? Don't confuse articles of association for other businesses and the founding statement. Right. Oh, no. Right, so now we're on to question 6. Below is a list of recommended courses of action for companies which are performing poorly. Right. Review technology by researching new product development. Explore the buying of assets since pricing will be attractive in many instances. And implementing aggressive competitive strategies to gain market share. Identify the business environment. So we must identify the business environment involved in each of the courses of action above. Right, only the business environment next to the letter. So A, B, or C. So if we look at A, review technology by researching new product development. Right, so that is A. Right, remember, technology is a part of the macro environment. When I was at school 13 years ago, Facebook would have been something when you put a book on your face and you went to sleep in class. Right, and Twitter, that was something that the birds did. Right, now we have to adapt to technology. How many of you guys are sending through questions now on Facebook? Right, so the businesses have to look at technology. We can't just sit around and say, right, technology is not going to happen for us. We have to look at adapting that. Right, so let's look at B. Explore buying of assets since pricing will be attractive in many instances. Right, so remember, so B is our market environment. Right, so we're going to look at the prices in the market environment. What are our competitors selling at? Maybe we can go and buy something cheap from our suppliers. All right, and then C is implement aggressive competitive strategies to gain market share. Right, so I have to go out there and say, right, how am I going to gain more market share? Right, am I going to be a nicer, friendlier person to all my customers, or am I going to do something else? So there, it'll be part of the microenvironment, right? Because I can control what strategy I'm going to use to gain more market share. Am I going to bring out more products? Am I going to sell my products for cheaper? Am I looking at how I'm going to price my products? Am I going to decide to go into an alliance with someone else and go and look for partners? Is that my strategy? So I can control that strategy. Remember, in the microenvironment, we can control everything, right? Where if you look at technology, I can't control the rate at which technology moves, right? So that's one very key thing that you must remember. You have to be able to distinguish between the different business environments.
Thank you so much, Dave. On that note, a big shout out to all the mindsetters that are watching, such as Lisiba Bijeng Mpo, who's also saying, I am watching and it's truly worth my while. Knowledge is power. Thank you so much, mindsetter. And all other mindsetters, such as Silo Arthur, our former mindsetter of the month. Otherwise, thank you so much, mindsetters. Keep your questions coming because we're here to help you. See you after the break. Welcome back, Mindsetters. Now, let me take this time and tell you about the Stars in Education Awards, where you can nominate your teacher. If you have an awesome teacher, your favorite teacher, or the best teacher that you think they deserve to be awarded and acknowledged, make sure that you apply for them and nominate them on www.ed.org.za/teachers. I'll also post the link on our Facebook page. Nominate now because this is the last day. Tomorrow is the closing date. Otherwise, Dave, I have some questions for you.
Right, yeah.
The first one is from Chanel Maninal. Chanel says, could you please explain the Human Resource Department? It's really confusing.
Right, so Human Resources is worried about all your workers in your business there. Now, you must remember, Human Resources is all about making sure that you've got the right people with the right skills at the right place at the right time. So, for example, this evening on Mindset, there's no point to me being this amazing business studies teacher and I've got all these qualifications and I've won all of these amazing awards, but I can't be here right now teaching you guys, right? So Human Resources is worried about that, and also Human Resources is concerned with making sure that we look after the well-being of our workers. We train them when they come into our business. We induct them properly, so we tell them what's expected of them, what time they must be at work, what time they're allowed to leave, all the procedures in place, how we're going to remunerate them. And also, we look at getting those people into the company, so we have to follow all of those processes. So Human Resources is about making sure that we get them. So if you look at Gareth Bale, who's just signed for Real Madrid, he's unfortunately left my football club that I support. Right, so Real Madrid had to go out there and they had to say, right, we're looking for someone that has got these skills. And they have to go out and find those people. And they have to go through the whole process of shortlisting them, making sure that they have those people, interviewing them, make sure that they pass all those tests. So Human Resources has got to do with anything to do with the workers. Right, so Human Resource Department will deal with trade unions when it comes to strikes. Right, so the Human Resources aren't concerned about how many products are we selling, how's our marketing doing, what is the quality of the products that we're producing. They're worried about the workers. So I hope that clears that up for you. I know it is a very big section and there's a lot of parts that fall under it, and it's got to do with the Employment Equity Act and all the different laws. So just make sure that you go through that carefully, but understand that essentially it's about the workers and how we interact with the workers, how we get those workers to work for us. And how do we motivate them? Do we pay them lots of money? What do we do? All right, so I hope that cleared that up for you there. All right, let's go on to question 7 here. Right, and it's all about read the case study below and answer the question that follows. So Lawrence Mufundo is a general manager, right? That's very important that we get that there. So he's a general manager of a factory that manufactures a variety of quality toys. It's situated in the Eastern Cape. Right, that's a beautiful part of the country. Their toys are successfully marketed locally as well as globally. Right, the factory uses modern machinery and equipment in the production process. So you guys must be thinking, modern. Right, think of quality. the factory has a relatively small human resources department. So that must mean, right, do they have like all the things needed to motivate people? With no counseling and support services for workers, right? Lawrence Mafundo read about the problem of HIV, AIDS, and unemployment in the local community. Now, this HIV, AIDS is going to come to this counseling services for the workers because maybe a lot of our workers are HIV positive. Right. The article stated that approximately 30% of the people in the local community are probably HIV positive, and then more than 40% are unemployed, and crime is on the increase. Right, so we can see, oh, we got a bit of a problem here. So you must assist Lawrence to compile a SWOT analysis of Tiny Tots Toy Factory. Now you must remember that a SWOT analysis, our strengths and weaknesses are internal factors that we can control, right? So strengths and weaknesses are internal. I can control that, right? So my strengths and weaknesses, I can control. So I can control that my strength is that I'm confident and I've got a good knowledge base. I can control that because if I want, I can stop being confident, I can stop reading up and not be very knowledgeable, right? Maybe a weakness of mine is that I speak too quickly. I can control that. I can work on that. Where if you look at opportunities and threats, right, these are external, right? And when I say external, I mean things like if you look at the Soccer World Cup that happened in South Africa 3 years ago, there was an opportunity, right? We couldn't, as a business, control that opportunity, but however, we could take advantage of that. Just like my threats, if my competition are my threats, I can't control my competition. I can't go to them and say, listen here guys, today I want to have a good day at business, you guys have a bad day, tomorrow I'll have a bad day, you have a good day, right? We cannot control that. We have to learn to adapt it though. So let's see what they say about their strengths. Right, so firstly, they have successful marketing locally and globally, and they're using modern machinery and equipment. Right, that's a big strength. I can control that. If I want, I can go and buy some rubbish machinery and make rubbish products, or I can have the best machinery and make the best quality product. I can control that. Okay. So let's look at our weaknesses, right? So weakness is a small human resource department. Okay, I can change it. I can make my human resource department bigger if I wanted to, right? And another weakness is that there's no counseling. So I can change it. How can I change it? Is I can bring a counselor in to counsel all my workers. So what opportunities do we have, right? So we could train unskilled workers. We've got a large local community that is unemployed. I've got a large base that I can pick up some workers from, train them, give them the skills necessary, and then I've got a bigger workforce to choose from. Okay. I could also have a workshop for employees on HIV/AIDS awareness. Right, you must remember now, if I look after my employees that are HIV/AIDS, or I can help prevent them, I'm going to have a much more productive workforce. If I have a much more productive workforce, that is then going to become a strength for me, right? Then what are our threats, right? Loss of workers to HIV/AIDS in the community, right? Another threat is crime. Okay, so I must take my threats, turn them into opportunities that they can become a strength. So if I take crime, right, the crime is because people are unemployed. If I employ these people, they will then have a skill, and I can employ them, and then that can become a strength of mine there. Right. Just like if I have a nice a counseling program for my HIV/AIDS workers. So if we see here, right now, this is a weakness. If I turn that weakness into a strength, that means I can get people from the community, counsel them, I've got more workers, and that makes my business more productive. So now the second part of the question is use the information from the SWOT analysis to develop strategies to counter the challenge, right? So we look there. So provide a training course to all employees regarding HIV/AIDS, right? That's one of my challenges. I'm going to be losing a lot of workers to HIV/AIDS. I need to come up with a strategy to prevent that, or to get counseling or medical assistance such as antiretroviral, so that my employees are a lot more productive, right? Provide equipment for voluntary HIV/AIDS tests, right? Knowledge is power, so that we can prevent that there. And provide employees with counseling on HIV/AIDS. And once again, as I said there, provide medication for HIV/AIDS, right? Antiretrovirals. If I can prevent people from getting HIV/AIDS, that's our number one priority there. However, if people do contract HIV/AIDS, if I've got antiretrovirals for them, they can still be productive in the workforce. Right, let's go on to our last question here. Right, so question 8. Sibongile is employed at ABC Factory Limited. She works for a 5-day week. Her remuneration is based on the following: working hours of 8 hours per day. Right. The normal rate is 60 Rand per hour, so she'll be earning 480 Rand a day. Sibongile worked 3 hours overtime this week. Right. The rate for overtime is 1.5 times the normal rate. So if she's earning 60 Rand an hour, 1.5 times that would mean that she'll be earning 90 Rand an hour, right? Deductions for the week are as follows: income tax, 320 Rand, UIF, 26 Rand and 70 cents, and the staff social club, 15 Rand per week. So calculate Sibongile's gross wage for the week and show all calculations. Now, this is where a lot of people get confused there. So she worked 8 hours times by 60 Rand times 5 days plus 3 hours at 1.5 and 60. So that is 480 Rand times 5 and then 3 times 90 Rand. So that gives us our total there of 2,670. Now remember, gross is before deductions. Right, that's very important, before deductions. Okay, so calculate Sibongile's net wage. So remember, net is after deductions. Okay, so let's have a look at how she did this. So we take our answer, the first answer here, right? That's our starting point, because that's how much money that she got paid before all of her deductions, or how much money she earned before all of her deductions. So that was 2,670 Rand. So minus the 320, which goes to her tax for the week. So we're minusing that amount. Okay? Minusing the 26 Rand and 70 cents, right, for her UIF. Okay? And then minusing the 15 Rand for the staff social club. That means at the end, Sibongile is going to be taking home 2,308 Rand and 30 cents. That is her net pay, right? So that's all the money that is left after all of her deductions. Her tax, her UIF, and any other deductions. So you might see a lot of businesses will deduct if you use the phone or any other expenses that you have to take there. But that's our questions done there. Amy?
Unfortunately, because of time, we need to end there. But can you please explain assurance quickly?
Assurance. So assurance,
as to compare to insurance.
Assurance is something that will happen, right? So that means one day I will retire from work. Hopefully it'll be soon. I'm going to play the lotto this week. So it's something that will happen. So like death, a death policy. Everyone is going to die. That is assurance. Where insurance is for something that might happen. I might get robbed on the way home today. Right.
Thank you so much, Dave. Unfortunately, Mindsetters, because of time, we have to end it there. I saw that a lot of you were confused about the difference because of that. But otherwise, a big thank you to Macmillan for making this show possible. And for you, for watching the show, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Otherwise, peace, keep learning more.